Hello, I'm Enzo, and today I'll be playing Minecraft. Currently, I'm playing on a realm on Java Edition, and this is part of my mega base. Now, the mega base itself is another episode, but what I wanted to focus on today is the railway system. Is it useful? Not really. We have Elytra, we could just fly around at the surface, but I thought it would be a cool project to undertake. So, how does it work? Well, we have a bunch of different signs saying where the things go. I only really use my name because I don't know. I don't know if the others want their names on here or not, but you get the point. So how does it work? Well, I'm using a mod that allows me to have a free cam, so you can kind of see. It's kind of odd, right? It's a single rail, but I have 4 destinations. How does that work? Well, it's complicated. Let's start off by making sure everything's reset. It should be, but I don't know. Game decides it's not sometimes. How about. Okay, well, let's go to my area, which is that way. However, you might have noticed the track is going that way. That would not send me to the right where I need to go. Conveniently, there's only one destination over there, so it's only this intersection we have to worry about. But let's press the button anyways. And hope it worked. I haven't tested this in a while. Alright, I'll show off this system in a little bit, but I'm glad to see that it did work. And it's nighttime. I think I've slept recently. I think I should be fine. Anyways, now we're here. This is my area. What's over here? Well, this is the world border, with actual barrier blocks instead of the ugly world border. This is my destroyer, J-class destroyer. Potentially another video. But yeah, and all this is my area. Anyways, that's not important. What's important is the fact that we got here. Now, how did that all happen? How did we get here? Before I explain that, I want to talk about this system. I'm actually really proud of this. So you can see a few things happen here. Once your minecart, well, you might as well do a test. Your minecart gets sent up the bubble stream. We all know that. I'll talk about that in a second. But this happens. So first of all, you go through this and you don't get damaged because it's glass, which means, it's transparent. It was pretty much the only way to do what I was aiming for here. Now, I placed a rail here, then broke it so I could get this slanted down, and this sends you back on your way back. There's a detector rail here. What happens when you come here is you hit the detector rail, but when you're going out, you don't hit the detector rail. This is what I call the reset line. What's the reset line? Well, it's a massive line of redstone that goes all the way back. I'll show off the circuits more soon. Anyways, you get pushed up here, and it's 3 blocks tall. It's 3 blocks tall because if it's 2, you get stuck in the glass, and that's a little annoying. Okay, but we're here. Let's say I want to go back to my base. Remember that intersection? Well, because we hit the reset line, it reset itself, which means we're not going back to the base. We're going to go all the way down there. So to get back to the base, we press this button. What does this button do? Well, this. Okay, so maybe this wasn't like the best way, but I thought it was cool just how fast you can get redstone to move vertically. This uses the amazing Java feature of Bud, which I honestly hate, because it makes building stuff really annoying. But because magic, that redstone block on this block, by the way, triggers this piston, which triggers that, which then sends a signal to this line. This is where it gets complicated. You can see there are 3 different heights, plus this one, that's the reset line, which also gets triggered by that. So we have 4 buttons here. Each one goes to a different place that isn't this. And you kind of make sense. So we have 5 destinations before buttons, if you understand. I made this chart to help me understand how this is all going to work. So you'll notice we have X, Y, and Z. These are all the turns, and these are the directions that the rails are facing by default, or 0. This is my first attempt to figure out, okay, what has to go to what? And pretty much, to go to B, you have to turn this X to 1. which means on in redstone. That's kind of how it works. 0 is off, 1 is on. That was the whole basis behind this. And now we have this text file I made. Okay, I know it looks extremely complicated, but let me explain. To go from A to B, X has to be turned on to 1. You can see that here. X hits 1. I might as well show what these lines all do. These lines go to every single intersection. This is X. These trapdoors are so I could have gotten into these. I mined these out one by one instead of one by two because it's just way faster. And then I would have had to place a block. Yeah, it's just quicker this way. This mechanism looks a little bit complicated, I know, but this is basically just a lever that's not player activated. It's a redstone lever, if you will. This is the X line. That means when it receives a signal, it pushes this piston. Yes, okay, sorry. I realized it pushed the piston already, and it pushed the redstone block here. What that does is inverts the signal, or it turns it to 1, and boom, we get sent back to our base. The other line you'll see here, this is the reset line. I'll go over the reset line a bit more as we get to Y and Z, but that's what we need to know for X. But let's say, for example, we wanted to reset the line and go somewhere else. Well, you have to reset it, or else it won't really work. Line activates, X gets pushed back into its default position. As you can see, the line is back to normal. Pretty neat. Let's say, for example, I want to go to the dockhouse. Now, okay, that's obviously a quick trip. This is probably a little complicated, but let's go to the dockhouse. And because it's an angled rail, we don't take fall damage, and we get sent on our way. And as you can see, nothing was changed to X, so we still go this way, but a change was made to Y. And we get sent up to the dockhouse, which these are all pretty much identical. This one was annoying because I had to work in water. I really should have made those solid blocks, not sand, but, you know. Anyways, same system applies here. There's a massive string of observers just so I didn't have to deal with all that water before it hits the piston. But as you can see, we had a ways to go. And as we get down here, whoa, things look complicated. But I promise I can explain. Now, extremely conveniently, B to every other direction is also simple X, Y, Z. This is extremely convenient because as you can see, later things get a little bit complicated. The design is pretty much only like this because of the limited space I had. So, yeah, it's not pretty, but it works. Anyways, this is Y. Looks a little bit more complicated, I know, but a few things have to happen here. So it's the same system. Whenever it gets triggered by the Y line, which is the middle, yeah, it pushes the block in place. Since we hit the reset line, it's back to its normal position, but that's fine. That's good. That's how it should have been. But you may be wondering now why we have two lines of redstone on this side. This is the Great Reset line, and there's also redstone torches that don't touch that line that power the rails. I'm only using redstone blocks here because placing 3 or 4 torches here would be extremely annoying to figure out. So, yeah. Okay, reset line. Why does it do this? Well, it's because the beautiful fact that redstone only goes one way, and figuring out how to make it go 2 ways would be way too much work, so I just made a second line. And this guarantees that if a signal comes, say, from over here, it will reset every single one on every single spot. And when a signal comes from the left side, it resets all 3 as well. So it's pretty much just a guarantee that the system resets no matter which line is triggered. Okay, you might have also noticed in the notes there's a null section. Null pretty much just means what it's default to. And its default is to go to my port. So by default, we go this way. And there's Z right there. Z is far away from X and Y, but yeah. Okay, so, to explain, This was kind of inspired by Atomic Heart. I think they're called like pigsties, whatever the heck they're called. You know, they're raised up from the ground. They're elevators, and pigs would be on top of them. So they're like secret entrances. They're like secret entrances, and I loved them. So I got inspired to build one here. And I assure you, I only found 2 pigs in this entire area. We're a small island, and the pigs were around here. That's why I only have 3. Kind of want 4 or 5, but you know, no one's ever over here except for me. I don't really want to look that direction for That's another video. That's a very good video. Anyways, you can see now. Base, Enzo's area, Enzo's house, land house. What happens if we say, oh, didn't hit any of those? What would happen? So what if we didn't hit any of those buttons? What would happen? Well, let's take a look at the chart. We would probably go to D. Or we would, actually. So let's do that. Also, my original plans were to make the walls out of white concrete because, you know, it looks infinitely better. But considering the massive length of this tunnel and the fact it's a 3x3 hollow middle, yeah, I wasn't doing that. I wasn't gonna AFK blow up all that concrete. Or craft all that concrete. That's expensive. But here we are. It's the reset line. And we have a way shorter journey. I think we also take damage. You can hear sheep. Well, that's because there's a bunch of sheep above me. I should turn off mob sounds when I made this, because I almost lost my sanity. But pretty much in here, there was like a little cow pen, but they removed it for some reason. So I thought, why not? Actually, okay, nope, I'll fix that another day. But I decided to turn it into my own thing, and boom, now it's a railroad transit center. I don't know why I've called these things. Anyways, let's head back to the base. Alright, I kind of forgot about something. We're back at E, the final destination, or Enzo's port. So, I have to talk about this. This is the reset line, nothing special, but these are a little bit different. If we take another look at this insanely complicated list, you'll see that a few destinations require multiple things to be activated. And yes, oddly enough, D to all directions is also the same as that to all directions. It took me a long time to calculate all of this. You know, I had to make sure every single one went to every single one, but hey, it works in the end. Anyway, skip from E to even say A, for example, you would have to bypass D and C first, which means Y and Z, which means you have to turn Z and Y to 1, or turn them on. You can kind of see what I'm getting here. If we want to go all the way to B, these all have to be flipped, which means every single line is activated. E to C is just Z. There's no better way for me to explain this, so I hope you guys can understand what I'm trying to say. Basically, every single one has a code of X, Y, or Z. It triggers that specific sequence so it can go where it wants. Okay, wait, I got my thinking a little bit mixed up. I forgot they're in the opposite order. So this is base, which is A, B, C, D. Okay, with that knowledge back in hand, this goes to 2. A base hits Z and Y, ZYX, and Z. C hits Z, Y, ZYX hits all 3, and finally just Z. Alright, yeah, I forgot they were flipped here. But after all that complicated explaining, let's just try to go back to base. Oh yeah, and D, that goes to A, B, C, and E, is pretty much the same thing. This is a bit more complicated. Just because I ran out of space here. I could have gone this way, I guess, but I didn't. I tried to make it more compact. This hits this line, which is what, Y and Z. So that hits Y and Z. This hits all 3. Yep, because that's the Z line. This only hits Z. Cool. Okay, but now we're back at base. This is where things literally get more complicated. You didn't think it could get more complicated, but trust me, it does. This has to go to B, C, D, and E. E is also known as the reset button because, like I said earlier, that's what the track defaults to. Down here, yeah. Now, why did I say it gets more complicated when it's a simple X? Y, and Z. Well, I say it gets more complicated because this is the space I had to work with. Actually, player cam's easier to use. So the major issue I faced here is this. Let me kind of show you what happens if you hit the reset line. Well, if you hit the reset line, you'll probably not go to the right destination. So I had to make something. This has to do two things. This has to hit the reset line, but this button is on this one block for a very specific reason. Let's see if I can get a good shot here. Our goal is to make sure that redstone never activates on this side, so it doesn't reset the minecart and ruin your trip. And it does. Look at that. So how does this all work? It's a little bit complicated. I don't think I need the signal extender because I was originally working with an observer, but I figured out I literally just could use a half slab and get all that to work. Extended the signal pulse so it would stay for long enough to hold it. And yeah, it eventually worked out. So that's the reason this works. Let's say we want to go my area. That should be a simple X. Actually, no, that's too simple. Let's go blockhouse. Alright. So let's check this now. What I'm thinking is it should send us... Uh-oh. It's a good thing I'm recording this so I at least know what happened. Okay, well, the issue is the reset line never triggered. Why is that? Honestly, don't know why that happened. Half the time I can't tell if it's safe to break blocks or not. But anyways, I guess there's a block there, not redstone dust. Why? Come on. You really have to go right there? This time, the reset button should work. Let's make sure. Hey, awesome. Okay, everything's reset. We want to go to the doghouse. Sure. And before I leave, let's get a good look at this. As you can see, it stays off, and we make our trip to the doghouse. Normally, this would be facing the other way, and boom. Actually, you can get a look. Yep, it got flipped. I love it when a system that I built finally works after all this time. So in case you wanted it, the world's filled with caves. This is Minecraft. Here's the final overview. You can see the XYZ lines, our tunnel, XYZ, X branches off here, and the repeaters start going this way. Because, you know, X is right here. We don't have to do a crazy two-way system. Then we go here. Same thing. Our awesome redstone vertical signal senders. Sure, we'll go with that. Beyond that, you can see all the torches that were used. X, Y, Z, Z, and it, let's see, gets triggered here. Yeah. The signal comes from over here. My slime farm in the background. Okay, where are we? Oh, we're at the dockhouse, which is kind of far away from over there, so let's fly. Which is infinitely faster, by the way. And from here you can see the final stretch, the turn. There. Also the dry dock. Anyways, last thing to note about this is I need to test it, but I don't want to do that on video. I am pretty sure that if you trigger certain combinations from E, they won't trigger like all the way back here. I think it's, oh yeah, okay, it does. Okay, I'm at E, right? Let's see what my render distance is. My render distance should be maxed out, and I think you begin to see our problem. So we don't render X, we barely render Y. The only hope I'm thinking of would be to increase the tick on every single repeater, and it would cause enough delay for when you launch, you can finally activate it. I don't know. That requires future testing. For now, let's just accept it works. It's an awesome system. and marvel at how complicated it was. Oh yeah, I should also kind of mention I didn't do any research about this. This was all just me. But let's not forget the most efficient method. Literally just firework rockets. I love lag. Way faster. Thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed the video, consider leaving a like, maybe even subscribing. Anyways, this is going to be Enzo from LookIntoGaming, signing out.